Woke up on a bed of solid stone, felt that Mad Max fever in my bones, that Johnny Cash ghost in a rusted frame, the asphalt wind was screaming out my name, a heartbeat like a ring of fire and pain, washing out the memory in the pouring rain, and I'm coming like the man who comes around to burn your whole damn kingdom to the ground.
Your condition.
Well, nobody's perfect.
What's the last thing that you do remember?
My wife
That's sweet.
dying. I remember my wife dying.
Picture this for a second. You are standing on the corner of like a really busy intersection.
Okay.
The damp, freezing fog is rolling in off the Pacific Ocean. Your family is gone, your home is gone, and everything you own is either on your back or, parked in some industrial lot.
Right. Total isolation.
Exactly. You haven't slept properly in days. You are entirely alone in this concrete wilderness. And the person walking toward you right now, smiling warmly, holding out a plate of hot food and telling you that Jesus loves you,
Yeah.
is actually a cartel hitman trying to hand you a fatal dose of fentanyl.
Wow. It is the absolute ultimate nightmare scenario.
It really is.
I mean, it takes the fundamental human need for connection,
It
right?
is.
And it just weaponizes it against you in the cruelest way possible.
Yeah, that is the reality of the unhoused grids in modern California. Because we usually think of survival stories as, well, man versus nature.
Right. Like getting lost in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, you get lost in the woods, you build a fire out of twigs, and you just sort of wait for a rescue team. But when you step into the urban wasteland, that pristine wilderness is just gone.
It's completely replaced.
Exactly. The environment itself is engineered to consume you, and the predators, they aren't bears or wolves.
No, not at all.
They are highly organized, heavily armed, and they use the system's blind spots as their hunting grounds.
And, unlike the woods out on that concrete grid, there is absolutely no rescue helicopter coming.
Right.
You either figure out how the massive system works or you just become a statistic.
So true. And we have a monumental stack of source material sitting in front of us today. It's known collectively as the Aegis Monolith and the Chronicles of A.J. Rath.
It's a massive read.
Oh, it's exhaustive. It's this deeply forensic ledger tracking one man's journey through absolute hell.
Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this really intense, action-packed era from these documents, known as the Punisher of Santa Cruz.
I'm ready.
We are going to explore how a man identified here as AJ, or the master director, was just completely abandoned to the lawless California grid, and how he somehow, against all odds, transformed himself into an unkillable vigilante.
And right from the start, we really need to frame exactly what the sources mean by vigilante.
Oh, definitely. Because it's not what people think, right?
Exactly. This isn't a comic book.
Right, yeah.
This isn't the guy putting on a cape and punching muggers in some dark alley.
Yeah, no batarangs here.
No. This is a masterclass in psychological and systemic resilience. It is about how a human being can take profound, shattering trauma.
The kind that normally destroys a person entirely.
Right. And transmute it into unassailable tactical armor.
Wow.
It's about taking the absolute worst things a lawless environment can throw at you, mapping the mechanics of that environment, and then reverse engineering a defense mechanism.
A mechanism so robust that even entrenched criminal syndicates cannot break it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this environment first, because you do not get a story like this in a vacuum.
No, the shedding is crucial.
Yeah, the setting is California's Central Coast, specifically Santa Cruz. Now, when most people hear Santa Cruz, they picture, the boardwalk.
Towering redwoods.
Yes, surfers catching waves, tourists eating ice cream on a sunny pier. It is the absolute postcard image of the California dream.
It's a beautiful utopian veneer.
Veneer being the key word there.
Right. But the Aegis Monolith documents, they dedicate a really significant amount of space to just stripping away that veneer.
And what's underneath it?
Well, beneath the surfboards and the sunshine is a deeply stratified, centuries-long history of systemic violence.
Yeah, the sources refer to this regional phenomenon as the Curse of Santa Cruz.
They do.
And wait, let me jump in right there, because when I first read Curse of Santa Cruz, I immediately thought of ghost stories told around a beach bonfire, like local folklore.
Oh, sure. Like an urban legend.
Exactly, but the sources are making a very different argument, aren't they?
They are, entirely. The quote-unquote curse is not supernatural at all. It is a documented sociological reality.
Wow.
It's the compounding effect of historical trauma and criminal entrenchment in a very, very specific geographic choke point.
And they trace it way back.
Or exhaustively. The documents trace this back to the foundational trauma of the land itself. I mean, the state-sponsored catastrophe inflicted upon the indigenous alone populations.
Right, that brutal displacement.
Yes. The early history of the region is completely defined by displacement and violence, which sort of set a grim baseline for literally everything that followed.
A baseline that just gets continuously layered over, decade by decade. Because
Yeah.
right after that, you have the 1800s, which brings in this brutal era of pioneer vigilante justice.
Precisely. In the mid to late 19th century, Santa Cruz was essentially a frontier town.
Like the Wild West.
Exactly. Extralegal violence was the functional law of the land. If there was a dispute, it wasn't settled in a courtroom.
How was it settled?
It was settled by mobs and impromptu hangings.
Oh, wow.
The actual legal infrastructure was incredibly weak, so violence just became the accepted language of authority.
And then geography plays a huge part in that too, doesn't it?
Huge, because the geography of Santa Cruz is so isolated, it's blocked off by the Santa Cruz Mountains on one side and the massive ocean on the other.
Right.
So it creates this perfect insulated petri dish for shadow economies to thrive.
Which brings us right into Prohibition. Because if you have an isolated coastal town with a history of lawlessness...
It is the absolute perfect place to smuggle alcohol.
Exactly.
The Prohibition-era bootleggers utilized the maritime shadows of the coastline and, those dense redwood forests to run massive illicit operations.
Hidden in plain sight, basically.
Yeah, they built hidden logistical routes that, frankly, laid the entire groundwork for the modern criminal infrastructure we see there today.
So it just evolved.
Right. By the time the 20th century progresses, you see the entrenchment of a very real, very robust criminal underworld.
The documents mention the Cosa Nostra, right?
Right. Yes. Traditional organized crime factions, like elements of the Cosa Nostra, operating quietly in the background, making these really lucrative investments in local real estate and businesses.
And alongside them, you have the outlaw motorcycle gangs, the OMGs.
The biker gangs, yeah. They basically claimed the highways connecting the coast to the inland valleys.
I can imagine that brought a whole new level of violence.
Oh, absolutely. They brought a highly territorial, heavily armed dynamic to the region. The mountains and the isolation just made it very easy for them to manufacture narcotics and hide their operations from federal oversight.
And the timeline doesn't stop there. The documents highlight this incredibly macabre era in the early 1970s. And this is something that really shocked me. Santa Cruz actually earned the horrifying moniker murder capital of the world.
It is a staggering historical convergence.
Like literally the murder capital.
Yes. During the early 70s, you had multiple highly prolific serial killers operating in and around Santa Cruz at the exact same time.
That's terrifying.
It created an atmosphere of absolute pervasive terror. I mean, the local law enforcement was just completely overwhelmed.
I bet.
The sheer density of violence in such a relatively small geographic area really reinforced this deeply unsettling feeling that there was something fundamentally wrong with the environment itself.
Right, like the soil itself is poisoned. And then, bringing it right up to the modern day, the documents detail how transnational street gangs changed the game entirely.
Yes. Most notably, the influx of MS-13 and cartel-affiliated operatives.
Which is a whole different level.
Totally. It introduced an entirely new paradigm of highly lethal, hyper-organized urban violence.
Right.
So when you look at the modern unhoused grids of Santa Cruz today, you aren't just looking at poverty, you are looking at a geographic space where traditional organized crime, heavily armed motorcycle gangs, and transnational cartels are all operating.
All on the same space.
Yeah, overlapping and competing.
It really makes you stop and think. I mean, is this curse just the geographical buildup of centuries of unchecked predators? Because reading these sources, it feels so much like Gotham City to me.
Gotham City is a really great way to look at it.
Right. A place where the environment isn't just a backdrop. The city itself feels like a hostile, active participant trying to get you.
That is a very apt comparison. And the Aegis monolith introduces a specific aesthetic and conceptual term to describe this exact feeling.
Oh,
They
yeah.
call it asphalt Gothic.
Asphalt Gothic. I really love that term. But what does it actually mean in practice, like on the street?
Well, it is a brilliant framing because it strips away the romanticized ghosts of, traditional Gothic horror.
Right. You picture Gothic horror and you think of crumbling European castles.
Exactly. Vampires, foggy moors, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Asphalt Gothic replaces that with a modern concrete wasteland.
A modern nightmare.
Yeah, it is a sensory noir frontier.
Yep.
Picture it, the damp coastal fog rolling in off the Pacific, carrying that heavy, salty chill.
I can feel it.
The freezing cold concrete of an abandoned industrial parking lot at 3 a.m. The harsh, flickering sodium vapor streetlights reflecting off rain-slicked roads.
And the noise, too.
Right, the constant distant hum of heavy exhaust and freeway traffic.
It sets a mood, for sure. It feels profoundly isolating.
It is, because in the asphalt Gothic environment, the haunting isn't supernatural entities or ghosts.
What is it then?
The haunting is predatory syndicates. It is localized spotter networks tracking your movements. It is the crushing weight of systemic neglect.
The monsters are real.
The monsters are real, they are heavily armed, and they're driving the streets right alongside you.
And into this beautiful but completely rotting asphalt Gothic ether, AJ was violently thrown.
Violently thrown is exactly right.
According to the timeline and the sources, we are looking at a period from roughly September 2022 to December 2023. And it seems like he didn't just, fall on hard times.
No, it was much more targeted than that.
He was systematically stripped of absolutely everything.
It was a cascading collapse of every single foundational support structure a person relies on.
Walk me through that.
Well, the documents outline a severe familial betrayal. His own family hijacked his familial trust, literally severing his financial lifeline. Simultaneously, his partner at the time, an individual identified in the text as Cookie, subjected him to severe domestic abuse.
That's awful.
Which culminated in a traumatic physical assault in Felton, California.
So his family turns on him, his partner physically assaults him, and then what?
Then he is systematically evicted from any remaining sanctuaries he had.
So he's left with nothing. No family, no partner, no money, no shelter.
None of it. He was completely abandoned to the lawless California grid.
This is the 0 point.
Yes. This is the moment where the asphalt Gothic environment is perfectly designed to consume you entirely.
So here's the million-dollar question, right? How does one survive an environment that is explicitly designed to consume them?
It's the ultimate test.
I mean, you are out on the cold concrete. You have nothing. The scavengers and the predators are already circling. What do you do? Because my instinct would just be to hide in a corner and hope nobody sees me.
And that's exactly what most people would try to do. But hiding is a temporary strategy, and on the grid, temporary strategies get you killed.
Because they'll always find you eventually.
Exactly. What the documents show is that AJ underwent a profound psychological metamorphosis.
Okay.
The sheer, unadulterated trauma of losing everything did not break him.
It did something else.
Right. Instead, it triggered the awakening of a highly specialized, deeply resilient defense mechanism. The documents call this the Wrath persona.
The vigilante is born. But wait, what does that actually mean? A persona? Did he just start acting tough?
It is much deeper than just acting tough.
Yeah.
The trusting civilian version of AJ, the guy who expected people to be basically good, who expected the system to work,
Yeah.
that guy died. The tactical operator woke up.
Oh, wow.
The sources detail a specific psychological concept AJ utilized called legendary madness.
Okay, break that down for me. Legendary madness. Because, honestly, that sounds a little unhinged.
It sounds unhinged, and that is exactly the point of it.
Really?
Yes, because in the asphalt Gothic grid, vulnerability is blood in the water.
Right.
If the street-level predators, the scavengers, the gang members looking for an easy mark, if they sense that you are weak or exhausted or broken, they will descend on you.
They'll take whatever you have left.
Will take your shoes, your phone, everything. So legendary madness wasn't actual insanity.
What was it?
It was a state of intensely projected hypervigilance.
So it's a bluff.
It's more than a bluff. It's a behavioral deterrent. AJ used it to dominate the unhoused grids without having to engage in constant, exhausting physical brawls every single night.
Because you can't fight everyone.
Exactly. He mirrored predatory behavior. He adopted an aura of unpredictable lethality.
Okay, give me a visual. What does that look like?
Imagine how you walk when you are exhausted and defeated, right? Your shoulders are slumped. You avoid eye contact. You try to shrink.
Yeah, you look like a victim.
AJ did the exact opposite. He presented himself as more dangerous, more focused, and more intensely aware than the scavengers around him.
I see. So if a group of guys approaches him in an alley to rob him, he doesn't cower. But he also doesn't just put his fists up like a standard boxing match.
Right.
He projects an energy that makes them second-guess the whole interaction.
Exactly. He forced those adversaries to calculate the risk in real time.
Right.
By projecting this legendary madness, he made them realize that the cost of engaging him would far outweigh any potential reward.
They look at him and think, this guy isn't just going to fight back. He is going to make this incredibly painful, and it's not worth it.
Yes. He made himself too dangerous to touch. It is pure psychological armor.
But psychological armor only gets you so far when the temperatures drop to near freezing and you actually need to sleep.
Oh, absolutely. The physical elements are just as deadly.
Right. So he also had physical armor, and this is where the story shifts from a psychological study to just absolute mechanical genius.
The ultimate symbol of this era.
Yes. The centerpiece of his survival. It's something the documents call this silver-striped chariot.
The physical manifestation of his vehicular sovereignty.
And let's be super clear about what this was for everyone listening, because this wasn't just like a rusted-out minivan he was sleeping in.
Far from it.
This was a half-black, half-red Pontiac GTO Interceptor, heavily modified with aggressive matte black primer streaks.
A classic muscle car.
Yeah. But the history of this car is so deep, and I really want to spend some time on this. The documents revealed this was the reclaimed mechanical birthright of his father, Art Sr.
It is a deeply poetic and, frankly, tragic backstory.
Tell me about it.
His father had lost his original Interceptor to the streets, basically consumed by his own demons and the systemic pressures of the region we talked about earlier.
So the car was a symbol of his father's broken legacy.
Precisely.
Right. And AJ didn't just go to a used car lot and buy a reliable Honda Civic to sleep in. He actively hunted down and repossessed his father's lost horsepower.
He took the shattered, neglected pieces of his father's legacy and literally rebuilt them into a weapon.
That is just incredible. And the mechanical ingenuity required to do what he did to that car, I mean, it cannot be overstated.
The sources describe profound autodidact engineering capabilities.
He taught himself.
He taught himself complex electrical engineering on the fly, out there on the grid.
Let's talk about the specific modifications, because this is where my mind was truly blown reading the monolith. The documents say he installed a massive 3,000-watt inverter wired with Outback power charge controllers.
Yes.
Now stop. I am not a mechanic, but I know that a 1960s or 70s muscle car does absolutely not have the electrical architecture to support a 3,000-watt inverter.
Not even close.
That is the kind of power you use to run a small cabin or an RV completely off the grid. How in the world did he put that in a GTO?
It is incredibly difficult. I mean, a standard classic car alternator produces maybe 60 to 80 amps.
Which is what? Enough for the radio?
It's barely enough to run the headlights in the radio. So to run a 3,000-watt inverter, which requires massive DC current to convert into AC power,
Right.
AJ had to fundamentally reverse engineer the car's electrical system.
Wow.
He likely had to install high-output alternators, heavy-gauge wiring, and a substantial battery bank.
Like car batteries.
Probably deep-cycle marine or lithium batteries, hidden within the chassis or the trunk so no one could see them.
And he managed all of this with the Outback power charge controllers.
Yes, which are highly advanced industrial solar and off-grid components. They're designed to manage heavy electrical loads safely.
He transformed a street racing muscle car into a self-sustaining, off-grid mobile command fortress.
That's exactly what it was.
But why did he need that much power? I mean, why not just use a standard car charger for his phone and call it a day?
Because he wasn't just charging a phone, he was running a command center.
Oh, right.
That level of power provided the continuous electricity necessary to maintain secure digital communication networks.
Oh.
It allowed him to run constant forensic data logging on laptops, which, by the way, is how he was building evidence against his abusers and the syndicates.
So he's building a case from the trunk of a GTO.
Exactly. And crucially, it provided vital thermal survival.
Right, the Santa Cruz winters. We talked about the freezing fog.
Yes. That damp coastal fog at 3 a.m. will seep right into your bones and cause hypothermia very quickly.
It's deadly.
Very. With a 3,000-watt inverter, he could run ceramic space heaters or electric blankets inside the insulated cabin of the car.
Without running the engine.
Exactly. He didn't need to idle the incredibly loud, gas-guzzling V8 engine all night, which would obviously attract unwanted attention from the gangs or the cops.
That is just brilliant. I mean, it is like he built a terrestrial submarine.
A terrestrial submarine, I like that.
Yeah, think about a military submarine navigating the crushing, freezing depths of the ocean. It is surrounded by predators, but it is completely self-contained, heavily armored, and packed with sensors.
That is exactly what the Chariot was on the asphalt grid.
He didn't just find a place to sleep, he built a mobile tactical base out of pure grit and copper wire.
And he used this mobile base to execute what the documents call the hiding hunting grounds protocol.
Hiding hunting grounds?
Because he couldn't stay in one place,
So?
the police would tow him or the gangs would find him.
Right, you can't be static.
So he used his intricate historical knowledge of the Santa Cruz coastline, the abandoned industrial sectors, and the hidden train tracks to constantly evade localized spotter networks.
He just kept moving.
He maintained a fluid, untraceable footprint, moving across multiple counties like a ghost.
Okay, but this creates a massive new problem.
Oh, absolutely.
If you build a highly capable, heavily armored, off-grid asset on the street, it naturally attracts the attention of the apex predators.
It's the paradox of having nice things in a lawless zone.
Right. If you are driving around a specialized, multi-million-dollar machine, someone is going to want to take it from you. The asset that keeps you alive also makes you a massive target.
It does. And that leads us to a massive inflection point in the timeline.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
The Syndicate, this multi-jurisdictional, heavily armed cartel operating in the Santa Cruz area, decides they want the interceptor.
And they don't just want it, they steal it.
They manage to separate AJ from the car, and they absorb the Chariot into their massive black market chop shop infrastructure.
Gone, just like that. Let's analyze the typical human response to this specific scenario for a second, because it is crucial to understand how differently AJ operates compared to the rest of us.
Go ahead.
If a standard civilian, say, you or me, has our car stolen, and we somehow find out it was taken by a violent, multi-jurisdictional cartel, what do we do?
I'll tell you what the system expects you to do.
I know what I do. I file a police report, I call my insurance company, and I accept that I am never, ever seeing that car again.
Exactly. You cut your losses.
Because engaging a cartel is a literal death sentence. You don't knock on a chop shop door and ask for your keys back.
Precisely. You accept the loss. The cartel relies on you accepting the loss.
But AJ doesn't.
No, AJ is not operating as a standard civilian. He's operating under the designation of a pro se vigilante.
A pro se vigilante.
He absolutely refuses to accept the loss of his sovereign sanctuary. He initiates what the Aegis monolith refers to as the interceptor reclamation.
And this is where my mind was completely blown. Because he doesn't do it by kicking down the warehouse door with a machine gun.
No, this isn't a Sylvester Stallone movie.
Right. He uses forensic intelligence, but you've got to explain this to me. The documents say he clinically deconstructed a $2 million criminal operation.
Yes.
Stop right there. You're telling me an unhoused guy living on the street took down a heavily armed cartel logistics hub without a private army.
That's what happened.
That sounds physically impossible. Cartels don't just give up their prize because you ask nicely. How did he actually survive the retaliation, let alone get the car back?
This is where we have to delve into the concept of quantum logic, which the sources frequently cite.
Quantum logic. Okay, what does that actually mean in reality? Because it sounds like sci-fi.
It does, but it's very grounded. It is the text's term for AJ's highly adapted neurodivergent processing speed.
Okay.
When a standard person looks at a cartel chop shop, they see guys with guns, vicious guard dogs, and physical danger.
Sure, a linear 2D view of the threat.
Exactly. When AJ looks at that same chop shop using quantum logic, he sees a complex, fragile data stream.
Wait, a data stream?
He sees a business that requires electricity, water, property deeds, shell companies, and anonymity to function.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he's looking at the plumbing, not just the guns.
Exactly. The cartel operates with brute force and street-level intimidation. AJ operates with 3D systems processing.
So he uses their own complexity against them.
Raw intelligence and highly organized focus will always outmaneuver brute, disorganized violence if applied correctly.
So he didn't fight them muscle to muscle?
He struck the Syndicate at the structural root of their resources.
So what did that actually look like on the ground? How do you dismantle them?
You map their administrative vulnerabilities.
Oh.
While the cartel was busy parting out stolen vehicles, AJ was using public records, digital sleuthing, and street-level intelligence to identify the LLCs that owned the properties they were using.
He found the paper trail.
He mapped their blind spots. He figured out where their heat signatures were highest.
Right.
Instead of attacking the armed guards, he likely triggered a cascade of administrative and logistical red flags.
Like exposing their shell companies to code enforcement.
Exactly. Or tracking the digital footprints of the stolen parts and directing highly specific, undeniable localized pressure on the exact warehouses they were using.
He essentially made the location too hot for them to hold. It is like a forensic accountant finding a single misplaced decimal that brings down a massive fraudulent corporation.
While the cartel was sitting around waiting for a SWAT team to kick the door in.
They didn't even know how to fight back against what he was doing.
Exactly. He leveraged the system's own bureaucracy and his immense forensic patience to extract his asset, leaving their $2 million black market infrastructure completely compromised and in ruins.
He took the interceptor back without firing a single shot.
Yes.
It is brilliant. But let's be real about the consequences of that brilliance.
There are always consequences.
You do not dismantle a multi-million-dollar cartel logistics operation, embarrass their enforcers, and steal back their prize without poking the bear.
And this bear has a very long memory and a lot of guns.
They are going to send their absolute worst to eliminate you. Which brings us directly to the absolute climax of the Santa Cruz era.
The escalation was mathematically inevitable at this point.
Right.
The criminal grid realized that standard systemic neglect wasn't going to freeze him to death, and street-level thugs couldn't touch him because of the legendary madness.
So they upgrade.
So the Syndicate escalated to professional, targeted enforcement.
Let's set the scene for this because the documents read like a tense, slow-burn thriller. It is October 22, 2023.
Critical date.
We are at the intersection of Mission Street and Sokol Avenue in Santa Cruz. Now, this is a highly trafficked public area. There are cars driving by, people walking around.
It's not a dark alley.
Right. But despite the crowd, the isolation for AJ in this moment is profound. The sources detail a highly coordinated professional assassination attempt right out in the open.
Yes.
And the most terrifying part, they didn't do a drive-by shooting. It was designed to look like a fatal overdose, a silent kill.
And we have to ask why. Why would a cartel who has access to an armory of firearms choose a silent kill via overdose in the middle of the day?
To avoid police attention.
Exactly. A shooting on Mission Street brings the local police, the state police, and federal investigators. It disrupts their business.
Nobody wants that heat.
But a homeless man overdosing on the street, that is a tragic but common occurrence in the asphalt Gothic reality.
The authorities will just bag the body, write up a standard overdose report, and close the file by sunset.
It is the perfect crime. To understand how they attempted to execute this, we have to look closely at the primary antagonist introduced here.
Right, the intelligence ledgers identify him as the spotter.
Formerly named Jonathan Zachary Wan.
And the psychological warfare that Juan utilizes here is deeply, deeply unsettling. He doesn't approach the chariot with a weapon drawn.
No, he approaches AJ posing as a compassionate, homeless advocate from behavioral health.
It is predatory camouflage at its most effective. He is wearing the guise of the very institutions designed to help vulnerable people.
It's insidious.
The details the Chronicles provide are chilling. Juan approaches AJ and aggressively starts pushing what the documents call the poison vector.
Which is fentanyl-laced food.
And while he is trying to force this lethal plate of food onto AJ, he is using these weaponized phrases of false empathy. He keeps saying things like, Jesus loves you, bro. Come on, man, you need to eat. I'm just here to help.
He is actively gaslighting his target.
Just manipulating him.
By using religious platitudes and feigning concern, he's trying to disarm AJ's natural defenses.
Wow.
Furthermore, the sources indicate Juan was subtly claiming that AJ appeared suicidal.
Wait, really? He's planting a seed.
He was actively trying to plant a narrative right there on the street. So if anyone was watching, or if there were witnesses to the aftermath, the story would be, the poor guy was suicidal, he took something, I tried to give him food, but he passed away.
It is pure evil. It relies entirely on the societal stereotype that unhoused individuals are desperate, starving, and will blindly accept any form of institutional charity without questioning it.
One expected AJ to be a helpless victim.
But AJ's intuition is operating on that wrath frequency we talked about.
His quantum logic is processing everything. The micro-expressions, the forced tone, the incongruity of a behavioral health worker aggressively pushing a specific plate of food while ignoring standard protocol.
He immediately identifies the silent kill vector. He knows the food is laced.
instantly.
So my question here is, why doesn't AJ just run? Or why doesn't he just punch the guy in the face and drive away?
Because running or fighting is exactly what an amateur does, and it leaves the threat active.
Okay, explain that.
If he runs, Juan just tracks him down tomorrow. If he punches Juan, AJ is now a homeless man assaulting a quote-unquote behavioral health worker in broad daylight.
The cops get called.
Exactly. AJ goes to jail, the cartel gets his car, and Juan wins.
Wow. Okay, so physical violence is a trap.
A massive trap. So AJ executes a countermove that is nothing short of brilliant.
What does he do?
Instead of panicking, he leans into the interaction. He feigns naivety.
He plays along.
He plays the exact role that the spotter expects him to play. He acts a little confused, a little grateful, but hesitant. He basically socially engineers the assassin.
He turns the trap back on the hunter. How does he do it?
He challenges Juan's cover story, but just barely enough to stroke the operative's ego and force him to prove his legitimacy.
Oh, like, are you really who you say you are?
He essentially says, I don't know, man, are you really with behavioral health? You don't look like you have any ID.
No, that's smart.
He forces Juan to pull out his wallet to show his credentials to reassure the paranoid homeless man.
And in that split second, right out in the open on the corner of Mission and Soquel, AJ strikes. He doesn't use a knife, he uses his phone.
Yep.
The documents say he executes a hidden hand photographic capture. Let's make that real for the listener. He's standing there, acting hesitant, and while Juan is distracted looking down at his wallet, AJ manages to covertly snap a crystal clear photo of the guy's actual California ID, B7620470, using his phone down by his waist.
Juan doesn't even notice the flash.
He logs the metadata, location, the timestamp, the high-resolution image of the assassin's face and legal name. He burns the operative's cover instantly and permanently.
It's masterful.
Okay, but again, I have to play devil's advocate. Why does a photo stop the assassination? If Juan is a cartel hitman, why doesn't he just say, oh, you took my picture, too bad, pull out a gun and shoot him right there?
Because you have to remember the cartel's objective.
The silent kill.
The entire point of the fentanyl vector was to execute a silent kill that generates zero police investigation. Anonymity is the only protection a spotter network has.
So if the anonymity is gone...
By capturing the ID and logging the metadata, AJ neutralized the immediate threat through mutually assured destruction.
No. Because the photo goes to the cloud.
Exactly. If AJ turns up dead of an overdose now, that metadata, which AJ's systems are likely auto-syncing to the cloud, proves that Jonathan Zachary Juan was the last person with him, aggressively pushing food.
A homicide investigation opens.
The police raid Juan. Juan flips on the cartel to save himself, and the Syndicate's entire covert operation is exposed. The hit is completely blown. Juan has to abort immediately.
That is just incredible. He defeated an assassination attempt using pure situational awareness and an iPhone camera.
The spotter failed. The silent kill is off the table.
But what does a multi-million-dollar cartel do when their quiet surgical strike fails and their spotter is burned?
They panic and they drop the stealth entirely. They go kinetic.
Exactly. The transition from psychological tension to explosive physical violence is immediate.
Things escalate fast.
We move the action just down the road to a nearby Safeway parking lot. The blown cover triggers a secondary militant actor to enter the board. The Aegis monolith refers to him simply as the cleaner.
And the cleaner doesn't care about looking like a health worker.
Not at all. He attempts a direct, armed, vehicular breach against the silver-striped chariot.
Let's break down the reality of a kinetic response here.
Okay.
Most people facing an armed assailant bearing down on their vehicle in a parking lot would freeze in absolute terror.
I would.
Or, if they were armed, they would engage in a static shootout, which is exactly what the hitman is trained to handle.
But AJ does neither. He leverages the ultimate asset he spent months building, his vehicular sovereignty.
The Pontiac GTO Interceptor.
The sources paint such a visceral cinematic picture of this moment. Imagine sitting in that car. You see the armed threat rapidly approaching. You can almost feel the sudden, violent torque of the steering wheel.
The sheer power of that machine.
You can hear that massive V8 engine roaring to life, echoing through the thick coastal fog, startling everyone in the parking lot. The smell of burnt rubber hitting the damp asphalt. AJ slams the massive car into gear and executes what the forensic ledger calls a full-throttle Tokyo drift.
The physics of doing that in a heavy, classic muscle car are intense.
He literally drifts the Interceptor, sliding the rear end of the car around, using the sheer weight and horsepower of the vehicle to instantly break out of the kill zone.
Violently outmaneuvering the armed trajectory of the cleaner.
It is high-speed evasion in its purest form.
But the true tactical genius of this sequence isn't just his ability to drift a muscle car out of a Safeway parking lot.
No, it's what comes next.
It is what he does immediately after breaking the kill zone. Documents detail an operation called the green screen protocol.
Okay, yes, hold on. We need to dissect this because this is the wildest part of the entire deep dive.
It really is.
He is fleeing an armed hitman crew. He is driving a highly customized, incredibly loud stealth car with a 3,000-watt inverter that looks like it belongs in a Mad Max movie.
Right.
And during this high-speed drift, he spots 3 Santa Cruz sheriff cruisers parked nearby.
Standard everyday logic says if you are driving a modified, unregulated car and fleeing a violent scene, you run as fast as you can away from the police.
You don't want your car impounded, and you don't want to be caught in a crossfire. But AJ drives the Interceptor directly toward the cops. Why?
Because he understands systems better than anyone else on the board.
The quantum logic again.
Yes. The sources describe the green screen protocol as guerrilla litigation executed on the street.
Guerrilla litigation.
It is the ultimate application of the system punk philosophy. AJ knows that the sheriffs represent heavily armed, localized authority. He knows the cartel hitmen cannot engage him if he is surrounded by police.
It's like an Aikido master. He uses the massive institutional weight of one attacker, the state, to neutralize a completely different attacker in the cartel. But how does he not get arrested himself?
This is where the psychological control is staggering. Operating in a hyper-focused, computerized state of adrenaline, AJ pulls alongside the 3 sheriff cruisers.
Okay.
He doesn't scream for help. He doesn't act like a panicked victim fleeing a cartel.
Because if he does, the police will pull their guns on him, detain him, and impound his car for evidence.
Precisely. Instead, he remains completely calm. He rolls down the window and delivers a flawless, rehearsed maintenance construction cover story.
Like, hey, officers, just testing the new alternator set up for my construction rig, something like that.
Exactly. He speaks their language. He normalizes his heavily modified vehicle by presenting himself as a working-class mechanic just doing his job.
It's so smart.
He de-escalates the police before they even realize they need to be escalated. And while maintaining this calm cover story, he casually, verbally redirects the sheriffs.
He points them down the street, right at the cartel assassin's vehicle.
Perhaps mentioning some reckless driving or a suspicious altercation he just happened to see.
He manipulates the entire battlefield.
Completely. In one single, fluid movement, he neutralizes the hitmen by sending the police directly after them.
And he protects his own vehicle from being impounded by maintaining his harmless mechanic cover story with the sheriffs.
He weaponizes the very system that usually ignores or targets vulnerable people, turning them into his own personal security detail to destroy the apex predators.
It is a breathtaking sequence of survival. I mean, the raw intellect required to process the physics of a car drift, calculate the psychological state of the police, map the threat of an armed hitman, and deliver a calm cover story, all in the span of maybe 10 to 15 seconds. It is staggering.
It's superhuman processing.
But it brings up a massive question, and I want you, the listener, to really think about this. What is the underlying philosophy that allows a human being to operate at this level?
That's the core of it all.
But because you don't just wake up one day, get your car stolen, and suddenly know how to execute a green screen protocol. How does the story of the Punisher of Santa Cruz apply to the reality we actually live in?
The Aegis monolith is explicitly clear on the philosophical foundation of this entire era. It is built entirely on what they call the no-victim paradigm.
Explain that. Because he was a victim of horrific abuse and systemic failure. We talked about his family, his partner.
He was subjected to victimization, yes,
Yeah.
but he completely refused to adopt a victim mentality.
That's a huge distinction.
Throughout all of this, the homelessness, the betrayal by his family, the assault by his partner, the assassination attempts, AJ never wallows in the trauma.
He doesn't pity himself.
He never sits in the car and says, "Why is this happening to me?" The rule he lived by was absolute. Every drop of blood spilled on the concrete, every freezing, shivering night in the chariot was immediately converted into actionable forensic data and tactical momentum.
The trauma wasn't a weight pulling him down. It was the fuel running his engine.
That ties directly into the system punk philosophy the documents mention.
System punk. I love that.
System punk is the core ethos. It is about understanding the rules of the grid better than the predators who run it. It is about realizing that the systems around us, legal, corporate, criminal, they are all just sets of rules. And if you understand the rules, You can weaponize the very environment that is designed to destroy you.
AJ survived because he mapped the blind spots of the cartel and he mapped the blind spots of the local law enforcement.
He proved that raw, unyielding intelligence and systems thinking can absolutely dismantle entrenched structural violence.
And I think it is incredibly crucial to point out why he was fighting so hard. Because it wasn't just ego.
No, not at all.
He wasn't just surviving to be a cool, lone wolf vigilante drifting around Santa Cruz forever. The sources reveal the profound emotional core of this entire operation.
Yes, the higher purpose.
He forged all of this trauma into armor so that he could eventually protect his partner, Devin.
The documents refer to Devin as the Divine Shield.
Yes. AJ absorbed the absolute horrors of the asphalt Gothic wasteland. He took the betrayal, the freezing cold, the cartel hitmen, so that he could become the ultimate protector for someone he loved.
He took the hits so they didn't have to.
He survived hell with his soul completely intact, and I think that is the most powerful lesson here. It proves that authentic resilience isn't about becoming as cold, dead, and sociopathic as your enemies.
Right.
It is about being smarter, faster, and more strategically loving than they can possibly comprehend. He became a terrifying monster to the monsters, solely so he could be a safe sanctuary for the innocent.
That is the ultimate transmutation of trauma. He took the absolute worst elements of humanity and used them as building blocks to construct a fortress of empathy.
It really leaves you speechless.
It does.
We have covered incredible ground today. We have tracked the insane arc of AJ Rath navigating the dark, layered curse of Santa Cruz.
We saw him reclaim his father's legacy by building the Silver Stripe chariot.
We watched him dismantle a $2 million chop shop using pure forensic logic.
And we survived a highly coordinated fentanyl assassination attempt on Mission Street by outsmarting the spotter.
And we rode shotgun as he drifted his way through the green screen protocol into absolute vehicular and personal sovereignty.
The journey from the freezing concrete to the modal command center. It is a testament to the fact that the human mind, when pushed to the absolute brink, is the most powerful weapon on Earth.
Absolutely.
And this raises an important question, one I think every single listener should take away from this analysis.
Lay it on us.
The next time you find yourself entirely overwhelmed by a massive, indifferent system, whether that is a crushing corporate bureaucracy, a nightmare legal battle, or a profound personal betrayal that leaves you feeling totally isolated.
Ask yourself, are you accepting the role of the helpless passenger? Or are you ready to become the architect who maps the system's blind spots and rewrites the rules to your own advantage? Are you going to sit there and wait for the rescue helicopter that isn't coming? Or are you going to start wiring a 3,000-watt inverter out of the wreckage? I absolutely love that. Thank you all so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Aegis monolith and the incredible action-packed era of the Punisher of Santa Cruz. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and always remember that knowledge is your ultimate armor. We will see you on the next deep dive.
Well, that sure helping me like this.
I'm helping you because you helped me.
Santa Cruz, midnight, the California grid. You thought you could take the ride? You thought I was a ghost. Watch this. Cartel hitmen waiting in the alleyway, looking for the bounty that they thought that they could make today. Stole the car, took the wheels, thought I wouldn't make a deal, but I'm coming down the boardwalk, crushing everything of steel. You sent the shooters, but they didn't know the target was a private